Hello, everybody. How are you? The sun is coming up here in Los Angeles. I thought I'd take some time to do another community spotlight. So many people are excited about these series of videos about communities, in this case, in and around Los Angeles. We're going to talk about Laverne. We've been spending a lot of time out in the San Gabriel Valley. We're going to continue that with Laverne. Very exciting town because it has such a rich history. Now, it goes back to the early 1800s. A a gentleman by the name of Ignacio Palomares, got a land grant from the governor, and the land included the current cities of Glendora, Pomona, Claremont, Laverne, and San Dimas. Now, think about that. You get a land grant that now that was so big it encompasses 5 different communities and towns in present day Los Angeles. It was just unbelievable how much land people could get at that time. And the house that he built, the adobe that he built back in those days, is still there. And also, he built a roller rink, a community festival where they had rock concerts, a garden, as well as a shuffleboard court. Those are still there. You can see them at the La Casa Primera de Rancho San Jose, also known as the First House. Now, he had a nephew who then he gave some land west of there, and a guy named Isaac Lord bought that land and tried to convince the New York to Los Angeles Railroad Company to build a railroad there. They didn't want to do it. He tried to convince the Boston to San Dimas line to build their railroad there. That was unsuccessful. He finally got the Santa Fe Railroad Company to build a line through his land. He built a hotel, and he named the area Lordsburg after himself, which was a shortened version because his wife convinced him to shorten it. It was too hard to say his original version of the name, which was Lord of all I can see, hear, and taste, comma, California. And smarter, cooler minds prevailed, meaning his wife, who said, dude, nobody can write that on a letter. So how about Lordsburg? And he went with that. And then over time, the hotel, it didn't really take off. The hotel on Lordsburg didn't take off. The nature of the land was changing, and the center of influence was really, really building in Los Angeles, and there really wasn't that much of a need to stop in Lordsburg on your way to LA or vice versa, points east. So the hotel kind of languished until it was bought by a German the German Baptist Brethren Church, who thought it would make a great new school. They wanted to build a school there where they would teach German lederhosen dancing, maypole maneuvers, as well as German travel phrases, so that when people travel to Germany, they could at least find a bathroom. And that was going on for a while. But then the nature of the crops in that area was always farmland in the valley, in the San Gabriel Valley. You're talking avocados, walnuts, citrus, but diseases and just the changing nature of the orchard industry, the citrus industry, there wasn't the demand for oranges or crops from the San Gabriel Valley because they kind of shifted toward Florida and also to South America. So therefore, it became more of a commuter city as the 1900s came into being, and LA became more and more the center of influence in the area. And so therefore they 1920 they formed a commission called the Bedroom Community Commission, and they studied different ways to get people to create Laverne as their bedroom community for commuting into LA. And that even actually the original commission was before the car was invented. So they're trying to get people to commute to LA on horseback, which was, if you had a job in LA, the trip by horse was half a day. So you could only get in half a day, and then you'd have to have a day travel back. So they had some trouble in the beginning because bosses were saying, hey, where have you been? And they said, well, I traveled by horseback from Laverne. And then they'd say, where's Laverne? Because remember, he named it Lordsburg after himself, and it later became Laverne. Now, there is some controversy. Some say it was, once again, a shortened version of the original name of the town, Lordsburg, shortened to Laverne. Others say it was named after a television program named Laverne and Shirley, that it was changed to that name once that show became popular. So the historical views on that change depending on who you talk to, but nonetheless, the commute was way too long, even in the early days before the motor car, when people were riding on horseback. With the advent of the motor car, of course, it was faster. However, the breakdowns were much more common. Your car didn't have the parts or the workmanship in the early days to be reliable enough to drive from Laverne into LA, or even some people were driving down to San Diego from Laverne. So a horse, although they have a higher feed bill, they didn't tend to break down, and you didn't need to get that many parts, meaning you could get horseshoes, you could get a new bridle, maybe you could get glasses. Some horses don't see so well and they need glasses. And because their eyes are basically on the side of their heads, the glasses need to be almost 360. Now, they can see behind them pretty well, with just a slight turn of their head, they can see somebody messing with their tail. But now you have to have glasses, almost like a halo, around their head. And those were expensive. So Laverne, although the early days were a little rocky, and not just figuratively, they were also, the roads were not very good. They were rocky literally. They persisted and now are one of the prominent bedroom communities in the area. So a lot of important people that like to sleep and they like their peace and quiet, they go to Laverne. In fact, Laverne has had several slogans promoting their peace and quiet and sleeping friendly neighborhood. One of them was, don't go in deep, go to where you can sleep. Okay, but that was not the best because they were getting better advertising agencies as they went. And at the beginning, they couldn't afford a good advertising agency, so they just got the descendants of the Lordsburg cousin. And they said, can you write? And he said, well, I can write letters, but not numbers. They said, well, that's fine. We don't need you to write the numbers. Just come up with some slogans for the city. So that's one of the ones he came up with. Another couple that he came up with that didn't work so well was Roseburg. When you want to go to bed, go to where you can lay your sleepy head. And okay, so it had a little bit of flow, but it didn't make a lot of sense. And it seemed to be saying the same thing in both lines. And then the other one that didn't work so well was get away from the noise and just party with the girls and boys on the weekend when you feel like it. Okay, so it just didn't work at all. So you can see where this community struggled, but today Laverne is a vibrant, viable, attractive community that has lots of people from all over the world that have come to sleep there because of the quiet. Now, the others say because of the focus on peace and quiet over the years as a bedroom community for commuters, that it's, some people have told me, excruciatingly boring for anybody looking for anything to do. And I said, well, what about the Chuck E. Cheese? What about going to the drive-thru at the Jack in the Box? Okay, well, there are things to do. You just got to be creative, in my mind. But I don't live there, so I'll have to take their opinion as it is. So, guys, I hope that helps you give a snapshot of the early days of Laverne and how the city developed to what it is today. We're going to have so many more videos on Laverne, just like all these communities in the San Gabriel Valley and around Los Angeles. We're going to get into the secret handshake of Laverne. We're going to talk about some of the industries that have emerged in the last few years. We're going to look at some demographic trends, the higher education opportunities in Laverne, and some of the movies that have been shot there, the popular songs that have been written about Laverne, notable people that have come from there. So many more things in future videos, so come on back. We're going to have a lot of fun.